since we have been together. So I was ready to get back and super excited to share with you guys a lesson on encouragement today. Where are my slides? One second. Angie Ripperton, you're actually on my to-do list. So I'll be, I see you, and I'm just like, I have your name written on my little piece of paper right here. So I'll be texting or calling you about something over the next day, probably later today. Oh no, what'd you say?
Said, I hope you enjoyed your vacation.
Oh, thank you. I did. Yes, it was great. Heather is like the best vacation planner ever. I will be spoiled now to go. We're doing our family vacation in August in the Bahamas. And I told Adam last night, Heather, I don't even think I told you that. I told Adam last night, I was like, gosh, I feel like Heather should like give this a look over real quick before we book it. Because if a sprinter doesn't pick us up from the airport and drive us to our location, I'm gonna be sorely disappointed.
I better check it out.
Better. I know. I was a little concerned about it at this point. All right, you guys, I am going to get started. Monica, how are you? I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
I'm doing great.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. I hope to see you next week. I'm going to be there.
Oh, yay. I'll be in the office.
Yay. Awesome. All right, you guys, we are, let's see, to start, I would love to get back in the habit of hearing something you guys are grateful for today. So if you could type in the chat, one thing that you are grateful for, and it can be big or small or serious or silly. And while you guys are typing something that you are grateful for, I've actually been getting back to doing my morning gratefuls, kind of got away from it. And one thing I'm grateful for was this trip last week. So I wanted to share with you guys. I think, Heather, this was my favorite view picture that I took of all of them. We went to St. John on a girls' trip. Thank you, Jeff, for commenting. Good friends. Yep, that's actually one of mine, was good friends in the picture and this view. That was beautiful. And I would highly encourage you guys. So is anybody else actually like this? I would love to hear. It takes me about 3 days to like even wind down to start to enjoy a trip. Like the first 2-ish to 3 days, I'm still like going 100 miles an hour in my mind, and it takes me a minute. And then I felt like on this trip, by the time I got settled, then it was time to come home. So I was like, man, I wish we could have stayed longer. Yes. Oh, good, Monica. I'm glad you got to get a little getaway too. Yep, Shannon, I know you're going on vacation with your daughters to Florida. Angie, bonfires are probably one of my favorite things too. Love that. Awesome. So anything else you guys are grateful for, if you want to type it in the chat, that would be fantastic. I wanted to do 2 quick little exercises to just engage some participation, because I miss you guys. Troy, summer camps for the kids. I'm sure you're not the only parent feeling that, being thankful and grateful for that. I feel like your kids do more than any kids that I know, maybe equal to Addison and Amelia. Like they're constantly doing something. So I know it's exhausting. Dawn, oh my gosh, AC, has your air conditioning been out? Holy crap. If so, glad it's being fixed. So would love for you guys to, we're going to do one serious and one funny before I start the lesson. So type in the chat. So how to train your brain. I found this and actually saved it. A lot of you know I have nourishment centers on my phone, which are quotes or pictures or scripture or people I can call. Josh is one of them. I know you're on, Josh. I talked about you yesterday when I spoke at a YP event, telling them that you were one of my nourishment centers to call. I said, when Adam tells me something that I don't want to hear, when I ask his opinion, I then call Josh, because I know Josh, because I can't call Heather because she agrees with Adam on everything. So I call Josh, and Josh actually tells me what I want to hear, which is a great friend. So anyway, how to train your brain. So number 1, read every day. Number 2, keep intelligent company. Number 3, get enough rest every day. Number 4, eat nutritional foods. Number 5, take notes, write down ideas. 6, prove yourself wrong. 7, step out of your comfort zone. And 8, do something different repeatedly. So would love to hear in the chat, what are maybe 1 or 2 of these that you actually need to focus on more? And what 2 do you feel like you need to focus on more? So I'm definitely going to say number 1, because I used to read every single morning and every single night, and I've gotten like a little bit out of the habit of that. So I need to get back to that. And then probably I would say number 3, because I definitely, oh, you guys are saying it too. Yeah, get enough rest, reading for sure. 3 and 6, 3, 1, followed by a 4. This week, I'm making only healthy dinners. I'm getting back on track, which is very hard to do. By the way, Tyler, eat nutrition. Yep. So lots of similar ones. So I would challenge you to maybe take a picture of that, take a screenshot, or write down the 2 that you chose. Or 4 for those of you that are choosing more than 2, and seriously figure out how you can commit to those this week. So actually I should have picked 4 first, because I'm committing to a healthy dinner every night this week. We're doing no carbs this week, and it's a struggle. So if I'm mean to anybody at the end of the week, I apologize in advance for that, but it is a struggle for sure. And then on a fun note, I just saw this and it just made my heart happy. So I would love to know, which color are you grabbing? I am obsessed. Does anybody else love these popsicles besides me? I'm all day number 1. 3 would be 3 and 7 would be my second choices. Monica for the green. Really? I would never, that would be my last one, I think. Oh my gosh, several of you are the purple. Okay, yep. I just loved it. I just thought, Shannon, definitely you're an orange person. Okay, I'll have to remember that. That's also unique. I love it. I love that we're getting into summer, and that just made me laugh. And I immediately wanted to go to Publix and buy these, because I was like, man, I haven't had one of those in forever. Okay, so we're going to do part 1 today. Part 2 is going to be followed next week. On a message on encouragement from John Maxwell. So a couple of things to share. I know this is kind of a lot, but I'm gonna preface it by saying that you don't feel like you need to write everything down. We'll post it in the Facebook group. And also, this was a really great lesson. So we're going to do number 1 and number 2 today, and 3 and 4 next week. So number 1 on encouragement, which this is totally up a mindset alley. Encouragement keeps us going. George Adams says there are high spots in all of our lives, and most of them have come from encouragement from someone else. Before I move on to what Walt Disney says, I want to tell you one of my very favorite exercises I've ever done. So if you're in a group, or you have a team, or you're in an office, or you're a leader, or any of those things, I would highly recommend you do this with your group of people. I did a leadership summit one year, and one of my favorite things we did, I think I've probably shown some of you guys this picture of Tyler, who works with us, who does all of our amazing videos. But we had about probably 300 leaders in the room, and everybody had a stack of Post-it notes. And they had to write, we turned on music, and for 20 minutes, we walked around the room, and you had to write something encouraging, something that you saw in someone else that they may not see in themselves. And we wrote it on a Post-it note, and you had to go around and you had to give them the Post-it note, or stick it on their shirt, or hand it to them, or put it on their desk where they were sitting. And I actually took those back, the ones that I got, and framed them in this huge frame. And actually I have 2 of them, because we've done it twice, and they hang in my office in Kentucky. And it was one of my very favorite things we've ever done. And it was, what was even better was Tyler was there working, and he was actually videoing, walking around, and the people that knew Tyler were writing great things about Tyler on the sticky notes. Josh, you may remember that. And I have an awesome picture of Tyler, and he's holding his camera in his video camera, and he's got his hat on, and he's covered in stickies all over his shirt and all over his head and everything else. And it was so cool, because it was great to read those. Oh, Tyler, there you are. That's you, Tyler. Okay, yay. And it was so cool, because I felt like it was just the greatest encouragement for everybody in the room, because when you got back and you got to read all your stickies, you were like, man, this is so great that this is what people see in me that maybe I don't see in myself. So Walt Disney says there are 3 kinds of people in the world today. I thought this was great. Well poisoners, which are people who discourage you. They stomp on your creativity. They actually tell you what you can't do. There are lawn mowers, which this is hilarious. They have really great intentions, but they're so self-absorbed that all they do is tend to their own needs. They mow their own lawns, but they never leave their own yard to help anyone else in their yard. And then number 3 are actual life enhancers, life enhancers. And those are the people who reach out to lift the lives of others and inspire them. So I would love for you to ask yourself, which of the 3 are you? And remember, it doesn't do you any good to lie to yourself, is my favorite Abraham Lincoln quote. So which one of the 3 are you? And then this was a great question that John Maxwell posed to ask. Am I different things to different people? And he said, so for example, are you super encouraging to the people that you work with every day, but then do you come home and you're not encouraging to your spouse or your kids or your family members? So could you be a lawnmower to one group of people and a life enhancer to another? So that's something great to ask yourself. He says people will go further than they think that they could when someone else thinks that they can. And he shared a story about an experience that was done, which I have actually done this before, and it is super painful. I don't know why. Me and Adam and his kids did this one time, and it was miserable. But people would put their foot in a bucket of cold ice water with ice in it and see how long you could leave it in there. And while it seems silly, it was discovered that when someone was present to encourage the person whose foot was in the bucket, they withstood it twice as long as the ones that just put their foot in the bucket by themselves. And so the moral of that is, obviously, when we're encouraged, we can do so much more than what we even think that we can do. So we're gonna recap this at the end, but I would love for you guys to write down right now the name of a person and maybe take a minute to think about it, who could just use a boost. Like, who is someone in your life that you work with, in your family, in your sphere, just in your world, that could really just use a little boost. And it doesn't have to be that they're going through something major, or it could just be something small, or something maybe it is major, but they just need a boost. And actually, I just thought of someone, and I'm writing her name down because I saw her yesterday and I think she could use a boost. So write down the name of a person who could use a boost. And then within the next 3 days, John encourages you to reach out to them. Number 2 is encouragement makes people better. So Charles Schwab, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I did not know this until the podcast. He was the first person ever in the United States to be paid $1 million salary. Andrew Carnegie was actually his boss. Don Oldrichs, you probably knew that. I did not know that, but he was the first person ever to make $1 million salary. And he says in his story, John Maxwell read part of it, but he understood that great people get better with encouragement. And so he said Andrew Carnegie constantly encouraged him. Like, it was all he did, was he was just such an encouraging person in his life. And that was how he made more money, grew to be more successful. But then Charles said that he learned that he needed to be a great connector, and he really needed to encourage other people. And that was ultimately what led so much to his success, was just the way that he learned to encourage other people. And so he said, people get better 3 ways. Number 1 is when we actually value them. We invest time and energy and we let them know that they're valued. Number 2, when we praise their efforts, praising them when you see them trying so that they can get better. And I will say, I know a lot of people who would say, I don't really need pats on the back, or I don't need people to tell me that I'm doing a good job. And to be honest, I'm kind of one of those people. Yet I will tell you, I'm trying to think of a good example. Well, I can see Don Oldrichs right now, so I'll use him as an example. We're partners in an office together. And when you, Don, send me an email that says, this is great and you're doing great in the office, and this was such a good, like, though, I save those emails because on the hard days, it's nice to go back and read those. And it does encourage me. And it does make me want to do more there. And so 1, thank you, Don, for that. And 2, I would say, no matter if you think someone needs it, or even if they might be someone that's like, nah, I don't really need, still give it, because you never know, on some days, it really makes a huge difference. And it helps you get better. It helps people get better. And then number 3, when we reward performance. So when we see people doing great things, we need to reward them and tell them, because that helps them get better. And they repeat that, right? People, you should praise what you want to see repeated is a great Andy Stanley quote that has stuck out with me forever. So it's not just when someone's doing something wrong all the time. It's actually, you should praise and talk about the behavior that you want to see in others, because that encourages them. And it actually gives them more of an incentive to go and do something. So John tells a story in 1977 was when he wrote his very first book. And he said that he wanted to write books, John Maxwell did, because he wanted to influence people beyond the physical touch, meaning if he wasn't directly with them on a daily basis, he wanted to be able to influence and encourage them and teach them. But he said he was a natural oral communicator, because remember, he was a pastor. So he was great at communicating verbally to people and face to face to people, but he was not great at writing. He just said he never was a great writer. So he said he went to a writers convention and he met a gentleman named Les Stobie. And he said that he came up to him and said, "I see so much potential in you, John. I would love to coach you." And John said, "Well, clearly I need a coach because I'm not great at writing. I know how to verbally communicate great." So he let Les begin to coach him. And so one time John said he was really struggling by now. I think it was like 1981. And John was writing one of his, I guess it was his first or second book on attitude, how to have great attitudes, people with great attitudes. And he said he went to Texas and he met with Les, and Les was coaching him. And he read 2 paragraphs out of the, what's it called? But when you're writing your book, but before it's actually the book, I don't know. I can't think of the word. Like the rough draft is what I want to say, but that doesn't sound right. He was reading the rough draft. And he said that Les said to him, "John, these 2 paragraphs are the best paragraphs you've ever written. This is so good. You're getting so good at this." And John said he'll never forget that moment. He remembers where he was standing. He stepped outside on the balcony and he called his wife, Margaret, and he said, "I know that I can do this. I feel so encouraged. I'm getting better." Les said these 2 paragraphs are the best paragraphs I've ever written. Maybe this whole writing thing will work out. I'm going to keep going. And I don't know if you guys know this, but today I think he's written over 200 leadership books. I mean, it's insane. John Maxwell's leadership books have made more of an impact than any other leadership author that there is, because of the sheer number of books that he's written. So I love that. And then I wanted to share with you a couple things of the last things that he shared. One or 2 quotes, and I don't know who they're from, but the first one is, "The greatest good you can do for another is not share your riches, but reveal to him his own." So in other words, to me, sometimes we think that we just need to help everybody else and share with them all the stuff that we know, but really what we need to do is help them uncover and discover their own riches and encourage them to be better about the great things that they have. And then I love this one. "Treat a man as he appears to be and you make him worse. Treat a man as he could be and you make him what he should be." And I know so many people, actually, I will say one of the manuscript. Yes. I don't know who iPad is, but thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Manuscript, rough draft, manuscript, kind of the same thing. Thank you. When I very first started being around Adam with his kids, I said to him one time, "I feel like that you like pump them up all the time. Like could it borderline just be like a little too much? Because you don't want to make people to where they're like, not humble, right?" And I'm very big on humble. Like humble is a big thing to me. And I remember he said to me, "I just want them," Blair, of course it's Blair coming in for the wind. Thank you, Blair Bishop. Adam said to me, "I just want them to see more in themselves than I want them to see what I see in them. I want them to always know that they can do better and they can be better and that they already have greatness inside of them. And I just want them to be reminded of that." Because he said, "I love my dad so much, but my dad never really told me those things. He never said, you were great at tennis, or you were a great swimmer, or you're a great entrepreneur now, or any of those things." He said it was more of just kind of unspoken. And he said, "I knew that he loved me, but it would have pushed me so much more if he would have verbally told me those things." And so after Adam shared that with me, I thought, you know what? That's how people grow up to be confident adults. Now, I think you have to, like, I make them go and serve and volunteer and do things, because I think you still need to be humble. Yet at the same time, I love this quote. I immediately thought of Adam. Actually, he's on Zooms, but I'm going to give this to him today, because when you treat someone as they could be, you actually help make them what they should be. John says, deep down, all people have certain desires in common. And if you want to encourage them, then you have to help them actually fulfill these. So these are the 5 things that people want. People want to do the right thing. So you need to stand with them and help them do the right thing. People want to find better ways of doing things. So you need to empower them and help them. People naturally want to achieve things of which they can be proud. So you need to motivate them so that they can actually go to achieve those things. People actually want to belong to a group that does the extraordinary. Even if you are a non-people loving person, everyone wants to belong to a group of some sort. So you need to invite people to do extraordinary things with them. And then people want to earn recognition for who they are. So we should honor people. So one of the second action items I would love for you guys to write down is write down the name of a person who you know could do better if they just had a little bit of encouragement. Who could do better if they had some encouragement? Again, it could be someone you work with. It could be someone in your household. It could be anybody, but who's somebody that you're around that if they just had a little bit of encouragement, you know that they could do so much better. And then within 3 days, I would love for you to reach out and encourage them and let them know that they're doing a great job and you see good things inside of them, and pretend like you're telling them something that they could be years from now if they just keep trying a little harder. So at the end of the podcast and the story, Mark Cole, who works for John Maxwell, brings on this guy, Jason Brooks. Jason Brooks has worked with John Maxwell for several years. Right before the pandemic hit, actually 17 months ago, he was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer on his daughter's 14th birthday. The podcast, I actually re-listened to it this morning to prepare for this while I was putting on makeup, which was not a good idea because it was like a total tearjerker. So I had to go back and redo my mascara. But the thing that I loved about it is Jason comes on and he shares what has kept him encouraged over the last 17 months, because to be totally transparent, it's likely a fatal diagnosis unless obviously he, gets a miracle. But here's what he said. Jason spoke on and shared himself. He said, the thing about encouragement is it keeps you going. And he said, cancer patients actually are 4 times more likely to heal when they're encouraged more and they have a great support team and a great support system as opposed to someone being alone. But he said every single day for the last 17 months, someone from his family, the John Maxwell Network, people he's worked with, every day he's gotten some piece of encouragement. And he said that in the John Maxwell organization, they said, hey, where there's hundreds of us that work here, and every day somebody needs to reach out to Jason because we've just got to keep him going. And so he said that has made the biggest difference. And he said that he, pre-cancer diagnosis, was more of like a glass half empty kind of person, and that he always kind of looked for the negative, or he was a little more skeptical of things, and he wasn't a great encourager of others. But he said now he's disciplined himself to be encouraged because he desperately needs to be to encourage other people because he desperately needs the encouragement back. And he said it's kind of selfish, but the reality is that I want to go encourage. So every single day he encourages somebody else. And he said, even if it's down to, he said people have sent him a ton of gifts. Like John Maxwell went to the Masters, and Jason loves golf. And so he sent him a hat and a shirt from the Masters. So when Jason was in the studio filming this podcast, he wore that shirt that John and Mark had given him, because he said, I just want you guys to know that it meant so much to me that you sent me the shirt and the hat. And so I wanted to wear it today to be around you guys to know how much I love it. And so he said, I just want to constantly encourage people because I need the encouragement back. And he shared this Zig Ziglar quote, which is one of my favorite quotes. Actually, Gary Keller says this all the time. You will get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want. And when you're helping other people get what they want in life, you really are getting all that you want because it'll come back to you. And that's such a great feeling to be able to know that you're helping other people. And we all get to a point where I always say, we need to do this again, Heather, but we used to take the leadership team in our offices and go serve together for a day, like once or twice a year. And it was so funny because we would help tons of people that day. You guys that are with Keller Williams know this because you do it on Red Day, but I think we need to do it more than once a year. But we would go and we would give and we would, take supplies to people and food and feed them and all this stuff. But every single time, without a doubt, we left feeling so much better than probably the people who even received, because we gave our time and we helped other people get what they want. So here's your homework for this week. Who are you going to encourage today? And who do you need to write a note to, send a card, send an email, send them a text, call them, send them something to just let them know that they're doing a great job. I know right now, I feel like during the pandemic, a lot of people have kind of gotten the life sucked out of them a little bit, and things seem to be a little harder, a little more difficult. And so people need encouragement now more than ever, which is why I really wanted to do this today. And then we'll do part 2 next week. Because man, it makes a huge difference. Even to people who are very high achievers, it makes a huge difference to still be encouraged. So hope that encouraged you guys. Thank you for being back. And I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday for part 2. Thanks, guys. Have a good week. See ya.
Thanks, you